You're not ready for this power. This is a force which has slayed billions. A power unlike any other you have seen in any form of anime or fictional media. It transcends the bounds of the fourth wall and has crushed those in our dimension. It has always been and will forever be the most deadly power on the face of this world and in the expanded universe. You, I, and everyone you have ever met and will ever know are not ready to discuss the overwhelming devastation that is... Butter. Dude, I like the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball movies, but I'm going to tell you what right there. That scene with the butter frog, I must have replayed that over 100 times throughout the course of my life. I'm so glad I was finally able to incorporate it into a One Piece video. Butter. I don't know. It's just so funny. Only topped number 2 by Ed's amazing performance of Buttered Toast from Ed, Ed, and Eddie. There you go. Okay. So today we're talking about Charlotte Galette, the 18th daughter of the Charlotte family's Devil Fruit ability. Do you remember Charlotte Galette? I mean, I do, because it's my job to remember, like, every One Piece character. But if you don't remember, she's the one that looks like this. Damn. Just damn. Okay, yeah, you know what? I couldn't really figure it out before, but now that I actually look at her character design, you know, pink, red, kind of like maroon hair. It's doing the thing with the hair covering up one of the eyes. That's like the hottest thing in the world for some reason. But also I'm realizing she's basically just Reiju, right? Like Reiju's design, pink hair, hair covering one of her eyes. Yeah, I mean, kind of, and they're in the same arc. I don't even think they fight. I think they encounter each other during the tea party, but, like, yeah, it's, like, basically evil Reiju. And Reiju is already kind of, like, Reiju is part of the Germa 66. She's murdered a lot of people. So, like, yeah, I mean, they're very similar character designs when I really look at them. Okay, so Galette has the power of the Bata-Bata No Mi. The power to summon butter. Not, I can't believe it's not butter. Actual butter, all right? Now, we're going to be getting into the food-themed devil fruits of the Charlotte family here. I'm very excited because they're just kind of goofy and silly. It's like the whole arc is basically a game of Candyland, especially when Sparrow shows up. But the thing is, a lot of these devil fruits have very similar abilities, just with different substances. Like, a lot of the stuff that Galette can use with butter, Sparrow can use with candy, and any other substance that, like, you know, Opera can use with his cream. In fact, the way you make butter is with heavy cream. You just churn the shit out of heavy cream for a while, and you make butter. It's actually very simple to make. So, I don't know, like, I was like the difference between the cream devil fruit that Opera has and the butter fruit that Galette has, very similar abilities in order to be able to use it. So, you know how, like, in fiction, you have, like, different forms of, like, kinesis that you can use to manipulate things, like pyrokinesis, you can manipulate fire, hydrokinesis is water, I forget what, is it terrakinesis that can manipulate earth? I'm not really sure, but, like, basically, you know, Avatar: The Last Airbender type stuff. Right? Okay, but in the case with Galette, she has butter kinesis. She's essentially telekinetic, but only with butter. All right, she can, of course, summon butter and manipulate it and stuff, and the way that we've seen her use this, most notably, is she kind of like wrapped Nami's wrists with butter and then kind of like raised them up so she couldn't move, and she kind of like, you know, trapped her. That was the way that they were defeated there, and they got thrown into the prison library, into the book, because Mont d'Or was also there with the book fruit. Okay, so yeah, butter kinetic. That's not an exact superpower that I would have assumed, but hey, it does have some, faculties. It does have some, useful abilities. All right, I will mention that much. Okay, so first and foremost, let's just throw out like what butter is made out of. Butter is mainly fat. It's 80% fat, mainly saturated fat. There's some bits of water and also milk solids in there as well. And in the great wise words of Meatwad,
it's not the calories that get you, man. It's the saturated fat.
Whoop it, you mutt! Meatwad, no!
yeah, it's not the calories that get you, man. It's the saturated fats. So you got to be careful a little bit there with the butter ability, okay? There is also a type of butter called ghee, which I've actually used before. It's clarified butter when you remove the water and the milk solids, and it's just butter. We're going to get back to that in a moment because that's actually kind of something that you could use the butter for. I had to learn a lot about butter for this video, which is fine because I like to cook, I have salted butter, unsalted butter, clarified butter. I can't believe it's not butter. I got a butter knife. I got fancy finishing butter. This is cinnamon and brown sugar. This is really good on freshly baked buns and whatnot. By the way, why did Galette not have a weapon called the butter knife? That would be so cool if she was fighting and she needed a melee weapon. In the anime, I think she uses a Gatling gun at one point. A butter Gatling gun. Butter, 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 butter. It just fires pieces of bullets of butter. It just fires at you. Right, okay, but no. She should have pulled out like a knife. She should have pulled out like my weapon. Bata Naifu, and then like throws butter knives at people. Like that would be useful. Hey, these could hurt people. I don't know. Okay, anyway. So, let's see here. Melting point of butter, around 90 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That's melting. Anybody that's ever cooked before knows the difference between softened butter and melted butter. In fact, there is a recipe for making a garlic butter that I really like, and I use it to make homemade garlic bread. It is delicious, but you have to be careful, because if you melt the butter entirely in the microwave, you're screwed. You can't use it. You can't use it to make it just won't work. You can't make the garlic butter. It has to be softened. So I can't tell you how many times, getting that recipe correct, I've put whole sticks of butter in the microwave, went away and get distracted, as I tend to do, just like me telling this story right now. Go back and be like, oh shit, it's ruined. All right, there's a stick of butter down the drain. Got to use that maybe for something else. Got to get another stick. Got to use it for softened. All right, so it's like you got to be careful with that. All right, so it's at 32 to 35 degrees Celsius for everybody that doesn't live in the United States, right? But the thing about butter that's very interesting is that, yes, it never really gets to the point where you would say it's really solid and really hard, like armor or like a shield, making a butter shield. I mean, depends on how thick the butter shield is and a bunch of different reasons. But like the idea is that, yeah, I mean, a bullet hits a butter shield. It could slow it down, I suppose. It stops it, right? But the point is that you have solid butter that's like frozen, like right out of the fridge, trying to like slather or, spread butter on a piece of toast when it's like cold and hard. It's going to be really difficult to do that. You kind of have to soften it up. You got to go to the magic number of how long. By the way, at this point, I'm going to just recommend, if you have any recipes that involve using butter to spread it on toast or, soften it up, take it out of the fridge I don't know, 20, 30 minutes before you're cooking. That just makes your life so much easier, or baking as well. Just take it out of the fridge before that, set it on the counter, let it get up to room temp. It'll help you so much to do that. Cooking tips with Hacking 101. All right. So it's a solid that could technically, like, if it's like, somebody like Galette that can manipulate the butter and it's a solid form, if she could shift between melted, softened, and solid butter, I could see that as like restraining you, especially if she's like, holding it around you, like psychically controlling it. Yeah, I could see it like if my hands were encased in a giant brick of butter that's like, I can't easily move out of this if it's like solidified over my entire, like, my hands and my wrists and everything like that. So that makes sense. So Galette's butter is not like yellow butter like you would typically get in a store. Hers is more like translucent, almost clear, to the point where, like, when she first used her ability, I remember back in the manga, because it's not explained. I don't think her ability is actually directly mentioned in the manga. It was revealed later in an SBS or something, right? Or a data book or something, what her ability actually is. But it's really interesting because I remember watching those chapters and like, what is she using? Is that like the jelly devil fruit? Is it like Honey Queen's ability from the Clockwork Island adventure, right? No, it is a paramecia, and it is butter. So butter, especially fresh butter, before it's really been processed and like salt and stuff has been added to it, can seem more like white or like clear almost. So the idea of that, and it's also mainly fats, you know, so if you spread the butter thick enough, it will eventually, thin enough, it will eventually become kind of like translucent in a way. So it does make sense. You know, her butter is not the processed kind of stuff you get in the grocery store. Hers is a special kind of butter, okay? So, she doesn't really have any techniques with the butter. She hasn't mentioned, like, you know, butter bomb or anything like that, or, you know, butter kamehameha, you know, like, here we go, diabetes cannon, you know. She uses it to restrain Nami that one time, and she can kind of use it, like I said, with a lot of other kinds of food-themed devil fruits. She could basically kind of mold it into whatever shape she wants. I mean, if she wanted to make like a giant glob of butter and like crush somebody underneath it so they can't breathe, and then if she could control like, okay, I'm going to make like softened butter to like capture you, and you're like, because most people can't breathe butter. And then she solidifies it. You're basically trapped in a giant butter ball. Okay? And imagine, like, of all the ways to die, of all the ways to die, getting suffocated inside of a giant butter ball. All right? That's not going to be fun. But hey, you know what? Her ability actually has a lot of things in common with Alvida's Sube no Mi, the slip fruit. Makes her slippery. Well, butter, the whole kind of thing about butter is that it's slippery, all right? So pretty much I'm assuming anything that, maybe not everything that Alvida can do, but most of the techniques we see Alvida doing, you know, making her feet really slippery and then sliding down that ramp and attacking people, and attacks kind of like slide right off of her. I'm assuming Galette could probably do that as well. So that got me thinking, and this is actually really interesting. Okay, so just like how, like, Magellan is a paramecia, right? But he can use his Venom no Mi to coat his entire body with a thin layer of venom. All right, but he's, you know, he avoids the negative side effects of that because, you know, he can't be poisoned, he can't be killed by venom. He can suffer diarrhea and other side effects of it, but he can't be killed by venom, so it makes sense for him. So I started thinking, couldn't Galette, as a paramecia, same kind of paramecia as Magellan and Galdino, who creates wax, couldn't she cover her entire body in butter so she becomes like shining golden Galette butter armor, you know, something like that? And then I started to think, well, wait a minute. She could easily do that. I mean, that's her ability. She could coat her entire body in butter. But it might be the same thing with Magellan, where there's side effects of covering your body in butter. Like, for example, every pore on your skin is going to be clogged till next Tuesday, right? It is just going to be stuffed up, all right? So it's going to cause rashes. It's going to cause severe acne. It's not good for your skin to cover your entire body in butter. So maybe it is like kind of a thing with Magellan's diarrhea where, like, yeah, like the butter is like she can control that butter, but like the side effects of like bad skin quality or like getting a horrible rash or like a heat rash because all your pores are clogged, you can't sweat properly, cannot regulate temperature, that's going to cause problems. You could pass out. You know, maybe she doesn't have all the negative side effects, but like if she tries covering her whole body in butter, her pores are going to get clogged and she's going to get acne, and she's like, oh my God, I go into the shining golden butter form, and she defeats an enemy, and then the butter armor goes off and her whole body is just like, ah, you know, like, so maybe the side effect of that is not good. And so maybe that's why she doesn't go into her shining golden butter form. That's an idea, I suppose. Okay. But yeah, I mean, like, she could, though, if like somebody goes to attack her with a sword, or maybe not a sword, but like a blunt weapon, like a kanabo or something, tries to hit her with that. Maybe she covers her arm in butter and then it slips off, just like the Sube no Mi, and then she removes it like right away, and so her pores are unclogged or something. And maybe, I mean, she could use it probably like a defense mechanism. I kind of made fun of this earlier, but like, you know, if let's say somebody has a cannonball and shoots the cannonball at her, you know, I'll use this Dragon Ball as an idea. Just it hits the butter barrier and just, and then it just gets stopped in the butter, and especially as if it's solidified, right? If it's solid butter, then it probably would stop it pretty well. If not, like, redirect it till somewhere else. Now this is kind of a contradictory thing because she was using the butter to restrain Nami, But I would also assume if somebody tried to, like, restrain Galette in something that wasn't sea prism stone, right? Like, if you just put regular, like, handcuffs on Galette or any kind of restraint or wrapped her arms in chains or something like that, I would assume she would just be able to cover her entire arms, her whole body in butter and just, like, remove herself from any restraint, provided it was not sea prism stone. So a good, like, easy way to, like, escape anything. And I think the only reason that, yeah, that Nami was able to be restrained is because she's literally telekinetically controlling the butter, solidifying around your arm and then, like, moving it up and moving you around that way, okay? Let's see. Oh, it's a lubricant. You know, so, like, you could coat weapons in it. She had a Gatling gun in the anime. Maybe she was using her butter as a lubricant. Butter actually has been used as a lubricant in weapons before. If you just have nothing else to work with, nothing like no WD-40 or anything like that, just slap some butter on there. I mean, if it gets the gears moving, I guess it works. If a lubricant is a lubricant, you know what I mean? So that could work there. Hot butter. Now, this is a cool combination attack, okay? So frying things in butter doesn't really work too well, okay? I would not suggest it. Butter, for one thing, it burns way lower. Anybody that's deep fried before knows that you kind of have to get the oil to around 350 degrees. I've fried things that were, you know, like cooler than that. I like around 310, 320, but like 350 is kind of the magic number. But if you take clarified butter, so butter that has all the water and milk solids removed, and it's just clarified butter and it's ghee, then you could fry in that, okay? So I would assume that being the master of butter, being the butter mistress herself, she's also, by the way, the minister of Margarine Island. She is the minister of butter. So anyway, yeah, I would assume having complete mastery over the element that is butter, she would be able to make clarified butter as well. Like any form of butter at all, you know, she can make. She can even make, I can't believe it's not butter. And nobody can tell the difference. It's crazy. So if she makes clarified butter, and then Oven, who has the power of the heat fruit, the Netsu no Mi, they use a combination attack. She covers somebody in clarified butter, like a giant pot of butter, and then Oven just lights it up and just heats it up to an insane temperature. There you go. You're just deep fried alive. There you go, right? Yeah, absolutely terrifying. You know, kind of the only person that would be able to handle that is Kozuki Odin, and he's dead now. So, yeah, nobody else would be able to stand up to that combo attack. That's pretty good. You know, you could also basically use it as a glue. It is a kind of a sticky sort of agent as well, depending on what state it's in. So, if she just takes the butter and just throws it at somebody and just slathers you all up in it, I mean, you could get, yeah, slippery, but it also can, like, kind of glue you together if she just makes it back into a solid, so you can do that. Butter prison, butter sword, butter chainsaw, like, I don't know, just any weapon you could think of, just imagine it in the butter variant, and there you are. The awakening of this ability is that I would imagine everything around her, all the buildings and everything would turn into butter, but then also depending on the heat of the surrounding area, like if she was fighting you on a rather balmy day and it was really hot out, she activates her awakening, all the buildings turn into butter, and then everything slowly begins to melt all around you. That would actually be a really cool awakening, just like the layout of the battlefield. Like, imagine Galette is chasing you through, like, Alabasta, and it's really hot out, and it's in the middle of a desert, right? And then you're running into all these buildings, and you're trying to hide from her and everything like that, trying to come up with a new ability, a new strategy to defeat her, and she's just like, oh, no, you won't, and she just touches the building, and the building instantly turns into butter, and it's like 110 degrees out, and then the whole building just begins to dissolve while you're inside of it, and then you're trapped in the butter prison, and then she coalesces it, and once again, you're trapped inside of the giant butter ball. It all comes back to the butter ball. That is Galette's finisher. She doesn't have a name technique, but I'm going with the butter ball gambit. That's the way her battles need to end. So even though she hasn't showed up that much in the story, seeing her awakening, I think I would kind of like to see that. That'd be pretty cool. Same thing if, like, you had, like, a chocolate-themed Devil Fruit, and it was the beginning of the, remember the Johnny Depp remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, when the guy had the palace made out of chocolate and the whole thing started to melt? Like, it would be kind of like that. It would be like that scene right there, yeah. She could throw butter on the ground, make people slip like in a Scooby-Doo cartoon. That would be really funny. Like, guy walks into a room and just slips on the butter, like, what? And falls down. And it's like, yeah, there's some fun Hanna-Barbera shenanigans you could pull off with this fruit for sure. Also, I mean, like, butter, once again, saturated fats, not good for you in excess, but, you know, she would also have the perfect buttered toast. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I'm going to throw something out there, and I'll leave you with this. I'll end the video on this. I want you to imagine Charlotte Galette and Ed from Ed, Ed, and Eddie just hanging out. It would be the weirdest, you know what I mean? Like Ed is just like, do you have buttered toast? And Galette is like, yeah, sure. Here you go. And then it's just Galette and Ed sitting on like a park bench just eating buttered toast. And he's just like so happy. He's like, yay, buttered toast. And Galette is just there. It's like she's just this evil villain kind of that's just hanging out eating buttered toast. And I will leave you with that. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be the first of the Charlotte family devil fruits. Charlotte family values. We have a lot of them. We have the candy fruit Perospero uses next. Then we have the biscuit fruit used by Cracker. Then we have the cream fruit used by Opera. Then we have the juicing fruit used by Smoothie. Then we have Oven's heat fruit. We have Streusen's cook fruit. So we got quite a lineup here. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Tech signing out.